Hi everyone and welcome to this Fantasy Art Friday video. In this video I'm attempting a drawing of a snow dragon, and I wanted this dragon to look like it's climbing over a snowy cliff, with parts of the dragon overlapping the comic panel, so it seems as if the dragon is about to climb out of the page and fly off. In terms of its design, I wanted this dragon to look quite pale, with light hints of colour, and with a few shards of ice on different layers, so it creates this nice layered effect. And then I wanted the background to really contrast this pale colouring by being much darker. And actually, I wanted this drawing to be a bit more experimental than usual. Recently, I've been having a lot of fun by blending Copic markers with watercolour paints, using the Copics for the main feature of the drawing, and then using the watercolours for the background and the environmental effects. And so that was my plan for this drawing. So I had to use different paper, that's being Canson 300 GSM hot pressed watercolour paper. For the outlining, I mainly used a Pigmamicron 01, and I tried to focus the thicker outlines to the dragon's head to make it really stand out in front of the background details. And I was really pleased with how the fine lines actually looked on this paper. With it being watercolour paper, it has a bit more texture, and so it gave the lines a bit more of a scratchy effect. I started off the colouring by working on the dragon's head, using Copic markers, and for the first layers I was using pale blue-grey and pale heath. Then for its eye I added a bit of darker colouring with a sky blue marker. Then for the ice around the back of its head I used an ice blue. After that, with all these base colours added, I then used a light crockery blue to add some layers of shading all around the dragon's head. To make its mouth look like it's full of ice, I blended between sky blue and ice blue, and then continued adding darker layers of colouring with a light greyish cobalt. I actually used this all around the dragon's head again, just to continue adding these layers of shading. Then, to add some bright details and highlights on top of all of this, I was using a mixture of a Uniball white ink pen and a white GellyRoll pen. For the rest of the dragon's body, I followed a similar routine by blending between light crockery blue, pale blue-grey and pale heath, and then I continued adding the darker colouring with a light greyish cobalt, before also adding a bunch of highlights. In the background, I coloured the dragon's wings with ice blue and sky blue markers, and then in the foreground I decided to give the dragon's claws a much darker colouring with a Prussian blue. As you can see, I actually coloured the foreground with the same markers, because I really wanted to show that this dragon matches its snowy environment. And then once that was completed, it was time to paint the background. And I tried to create dark blue layers of clouds, and making sure to add a decent amount of water so the paint would mix and create some interesting effects. And then I also blended some of this paint upwards from the edge of the cliff, trying to create some clouds, and hopefully they kind of separated the dragon from the foreground layer. For the final stage of this drawing, I tried to be a bit more experimental with the snow effects, using the Uniball white ink pen, along with white acrylic paint, and a white Prismacolor pencil, adding lots of snow swirling through the scene. Then for the finishing touches, I also used violet blue and true blue Prismacolor pencils to add some darker shading to some areas of the dragon, to add a bit more depth. Then after this, the drawing was completed. Overall, this drawing took about 4.5 hours to complete, and I really loved working on it, just pushing myself to try new methods and new materials, and being a bit more experimental. I feel like it was a great way for me to learn new techniques, and I really do feel like I learnt some new stuff this time. So please let me know what you think, and also let me know if you have any suggestions for future videos. If you want to see more stuff like this, then feel free to subscribe, and any likes or shares on this video, they really mean a lot to me. If you want to follow my progress and see photos before I post these videos, then please check out the links in the description box below to check out my Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for the support. I truly appreciate it, and I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you all soon.